Hi, I'm Greta Oliver. Welcome to the Educate You podcast, your roadmap to learning tips, techniques, and strategies to enable your student to successfully navigate the road to and through higher education. Hello, everyone. Today's guest on the Securing the Bag, Finding Money for College episode of Educate You is the real money coach, Tony Jackson. There is not even enough time in the day for me to tell you all of the accolades about Tony Jackson, but let me just give you a little bit of information about him so that you can know who is before you today. Tony Jackson is the real money coach. He's an experienced educator with a passion for empowerment. Tony Jackson is the founder of the Real Money LLC. His financial education delivers curricula to traditionally underserved populations, while his financial services company, the Tony Jackson Agency, assists clients with wealth building strategies. He is a highly sought after presenter and trainer and is the author of Increase, Protect, and Dominate Your Money, a practical guide for money management and wealth planning. He's the host of the Real Money Coach broadcast, which is an educational series airing weekly on Facebook Live and iHeartRadio. Today, he'll be sharing information about budgeting for college, 529 plans, and alternative ways to pay for college. Please join me in welcoming Tony Jackson to Educate You.
Dr. Greta, thank you so much for having me today. I am just thrilled to be on your show. So much respect for you and what you're doing and that college roadmap and getting people ready. It's so important, because many of us, myself, first generation college student, my wife, a first generation college student. And so we know how important what you're doing is to families. And even, families who are not first generation, things have changed a lot since we were in school. At least me. I'm going to talk about
myself. Me too.
Things have changed a lot since then. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to be here with you and congratulations on all that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Tony. That means a lot coming from you. I really want to just jump in here, families, students, parents, everybody that's listening today. You better get your notepads out and take some notes. You really need this information to help guide your college search. And as we know, a lot of times the real issue with students being able to go to college is the affordability factor.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I really wanted to have Tony come on and give us some tips and all that he can give us. And so I am almost just ready to just yield my entire podcast over to you.
No, you got to come in.
You have so much and such a wealth of information to give us, and we need every single bit of it. So let's just get started. First of all, what can you tell us about just budgeting? What can you tell families about the aspect of budgeting and when they should start and what they should be doing as far as planning for college?
Well, Dr. Greta, the old adage is no one plans to fail, but we fail to plan. College is no different than that. Planning for college is something really that we should start as early as possible, in terms of, out of the womb, let me start the college plan, right? But so often that doesn't happen for us because as families, we're challenged with what do I do? There's only so much money to go around. Like, do I plan for retirement? Do I plan for college? How do I do all of this and make these dollars stretch? And I think that's one of the challenges that we have. But I think that the main thing is to kind of understand what's happening in college finances and where the cost is going and those type of things. And I often, even in my book, I talk about my own story. My own stories. I was an athlete in high school, great grades, all of this, and I had this. I had about 13 different scholarship offers to play football, but my dream was to go to Howard in DC. That was my dream. I wanted to go to Howard. I don't know what it was. I didn't know much about HBCUs. I knew about a couple of them, Spelman, Morehouse, and Howard is what I knew. And so I really wanted to go to Howard. But when the time came and there was no scholarship offer for Howard, I realized my parents couldn't afford it because they'd spent their lives providing for us, putting food on the table, a nice home, and all these types of things. And so fortunately, I could fall back on one of the athletic scholarships, but then I was offered a free ride academically at Western Michigan University, which had a very high-rated accounting program, as well as Howard did. So that's where I went. And so I was fortunate in that fact that I could come out of school with very little debt, but that's not the case for everybody.
Right.
And so we have to start planning for things so that when our children are ready to make that decision, that we can provide as much support as possible. And so that's really what we try to get families to understand. And as we talk about some of the budgeting and part of that is understanding this. When I talk to families about budgeting for college, we want to talk about, most of the time we're thinking about tuition, room and board, those type of things. But I'm thinking about the other expenses leading up to getting accepted at college.
Yes.
So the visits to different colleges, that costs money, right? So you got the visits, you got the prep courses for the ACT and all those type of things. The is it PSA or what PST or I can't remember.
ACT,
ACT, and that right. So you're doing all those things, and then you're making the college visits, and then you have the bulk of it, which is the college years. But when we're thinking about budgeting, we also want to think about the post-college years.
Yes.
Because we don't think about, okay, these student loans are going to have to be paid back.
Right.
We're going to have some type of income producing life, our professional life to help pay for college if we came through with any debt. So really there's 3 phases when it comes to budgeting for college: the pre-college years, the college years, and then the post-college years.
Yes. And
when we're doing our cost analysis at looking at those 3 things, we have to think about, okay, if I go to this school, what type of income I'm going to have coming out to be able to, sustain any loans that I may have gotten. Because this thing of loan forgiveness is a big issue now, right? Everybody's talking about loan forgiveness, but that's not promised.
Right. And it doesn't seem to be going anywhere either.
It doesn't be going anywhere, right?
Right.
So, and then we got to think about the debt outside of school. And one of the concerns I have, and I talk about this, my own story, right? So what happens when you're first college graduate or college student? I didn't know this. I wasn't expecting this. So I go to campus and Greta, I think I may have told you the story. I go to campus and there they are in the student union, the credit card company.
Yes.
And I got myself a Sears and Roebuck credit card, right? And I took that credit card and I went down to Sears. I bought me a 300-watt stereo. I put it in my dorm room and I was rocking, right? Not understanding that there's payments that come with that. And so now I'm paying for that, and I pay for that. And then even 5 years later, I proposed to my wife and I still got the stereo playing in the background. And I still also got the payment.
Yes.
And so we want to help our young people avoid those type of things, because having that unnecessary consumer debt on top of the educational debt can be pretty devastating.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that and told your story about the credit cards, because that is one of the real traps that are set for students. You're on a college campus. Sometimes it's the first time you've ever had any kind of freedom to do anything.
Right.
And so all of a sudden you have this like credit card right in front of you. Just do whatever you want to do it. And you don't even have to have a job. Just come and get this credit card. You know how insane that is? So, a lot of people will fall into that trap and be paying years later. We don't need that. We need to be trying to be smart about our money, as you said, from pre-college all the way to post-collge. And so credit card that just does not fit.
It doesn't fit in that equation very well. And so I always talk to young people about doing that, about avoiding that trap. Because now, if you create debt, now you find yourself where you have to work, right? Where maybe,
Right.
And it's a difference between working to have extra spending money and working to pay debt. That's a
Yes.
whole different stress level
Mm-hmm.
on top of your academics, that you're also trying to keep your grades up.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
like I said, I went on an academic scholarship, and it was a struggle to keep that. I mean, I think I had to maintain a 3.8 grade
Mm-hmm.
point
Oh,
average for a while.
goodness.
They and then
Yeah.
they eventually said, well, we're making this too hard for these kids. They dropped it to a 3.5. And
Okay.
so,
That's still hard.
yeah, it's still hard,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
you have to account for those things.
Yes.
And I think in the budgeting process too is just understanding that there's some things that we can do to help minimize the cost.
Right.
Like a lot of times, community college is a great option,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where we can stay at home. Sometimes we can the tuition is usually much less at a
Yes.
community college versus a 4-year institution, certainly a private college. And then I would encourage parents to encourage their students, their young adults, to get all the college credits they can while even in high school.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of programs out there where you can come out of high school and have a year's worth of credits already done at the collegiate level, and now you're looking at paying for college for 3 years instead of 4 years. And so
Right.
those
Right.
are some
Mm-hmm.
things that we can do to kind of help that situation.
Those are good suggestions too. And so always with the community college, just make sure that the courses are transferable, because we really honestly don't have
exactly
money to waste or time to waste.
Right.
And just make sure that you're thinking about maybe just looking at some colleges, having some actual colleges in mind for your institutions that you'd like to go to, and just check it out and see if the courses are transferable, and then take general ed classes that you have to take anyway. And
Right.
a lot of times those are more easily transferred than others. And
Yeah,
so
like the bowling class.
Yes, we don't want to do that. We can take some of our history classes and some of our math, but just make sure it's transferable, because we're trying to save money and time and make it easier process.
Yep. Time, talent, and treasure, right? We want to make sure we're putting those things in the right place. So when it comes to the funding, obviously there's a lot of different things out there. There's grants. It's always, the thing that's nice about grants, of course, is grants are not repayable. A grant is something that's granted to you. You don't have to pay that grant back. So there's grants and there's all types of different ways to get grants, but I just recommend people just do your search. I mean, there's a lot of things out there, and especially in this post-COVID environment, there's been a lot of changes to kind of make some things a little easier for folks. So, take advantage of those things. And then scholarships.
Yes.
There's a lot of unclaimed scholarships that go out there. Scholarships is another great way to just make sure that we're getting funding. And sometimes we think about those little $250, $500 scholarships, those add up.
They do add up.
Can help to cover books and registration fees for your books that might be online or virtual, all those types of things. So scholarships, I think, is huge. And the fact that there's so many of them out there that go unclaimed because no one applies. In whatever unique area, veterans or federal employees, and a lot of different type of categories. So I would just really make sure you explore that. And I'm one for also even getting consultant to help you in those areas. There's different services out there that will help you discover where those scholarships are, institutional scholarships, foundation scholarships. So there's a lot out there for people to go after, but you have to start early.
Yes.
I think that's one of the keys when we get to that funding phase, is where starting early in that process, the scholarship season. That's, you're going into your senior year, but your junior year and sophomore year, just start preparing, even as a freshman.
Even a freshman year,
to start getting those scholarship offers on the table.
Absolutely. It's a lot of places to look, but even look at your memberships. I often tell families that look at your the memberships that the parents belong to, look at the memberships that students belong to, because a lot of times those organizations or even fraternities, sororities, church memberships,
Yep.
all those kind of things, they may have small grants, which really are scholarships, small scholarships that, it might just be $200, but $200 is a lot of money. So
Absolutely. When you don't have none.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I
As
mean,
a
everywhere.
As a
Look everywhere.
student, when I was a student, somebody gave me $250. It's been like I hit the lottery.
I know that's true. I know it's like that now, to tell you the truth. But anyway, I'm just saying that stuff adds up. And then another thing about those small scholarships, you receive that money directly. And a lot of times when it's a scholarship or something from the school, it goes onto an account. And a lot of times they do not stack. They are funny about how they utilize that money and which way and in which order. And sometimes they don't even accept stacking scholarships. So It's kind of best to have something in your hand. As far as little money, you can go buy your books with that. You can use that money for applying to college. A lot of people are applying to college, and that's not a cheap thing, especially if you're applying to 7, 8, all of these different colleges. I applied to like 3, and I thought that was a lot. I know that was years ago, but still, this stuff adds up. And if you don't have fee waivers, which is another thing that you can ask for, or search out from the universities that you would like to apply to. Ask for a fee waiver. Call them up and say, do you have any fee waivers available? Look for fee waivers. And so that's
and I think the other thing too here is we got to what kind of concerns me a little bit is I've been on colleges talking to presidents, and they're concerned about this too, is just because of COVID. A lot of the application fees were waived. You had a lot of forgiveness in terms of account balances and that type of thing. And the concern is that we'll think that this is the new way of life, but those things are going to go away with that funding. And
I think they've already gone away.
Yeah, they've already gone away.
Yes.
And so, we have to make sure that we're prepared for that.
Yes.
And the one thing too is student loans. Federally subsidized parent loans, those type of things. And the student loan debt is pretty tremendous right now. And because of the cost, and we got to realize that college expenses, tuition, the inflation rate there is about double normal inflation. Anywhere 5-6%. And so it's higher than normal everyday inflation. And so many people are getting student loans. And my concern too, and my caution to people is remember, this student loan money has to be paid back. Right. It's not free money. Right. It has to be paid back. And so getting student loans so that you can go out and buy, the latest and greatest merchandise and all this.
I know.
At the time, it feels good to get that refund check from the financial aid office. Yes. But if that student loan money, use it for what it's intended for. Yes. And that's always my thing is if you get a loan, if you get these things, use it for what it's intended to. Right. And that is to pay for college. Right. And there's nothing wrong with this. Save it.
Yes. How about that? What a concept. What Save a concept.
Because there's going to be a time later in the semester that you're going to need something, right?
Yes.
And if you have those refunds and those type of things, and I remember getting those refunds, right? Because, I was fortunate enough to, get the full ride, but then I got some other grants and stuff on top of it. Right. And you get this refund check and you can spend it at the bookstore, you buying sweatshirts and all this kind of stuff. And but putting that money aside for later, Mama used to say a rainy day fund, right?
Oh yeah.
So that can
the rainy day is coming.
The rainy day is coming. It is coming, right? It rains on the just and the unjust. The rain is coming. Got that right. Okay. So, putting that money aside and not borrowing more than what you need just because you can.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the thing that we want to tell people is just borrow what you need.
Yes.
More than what you need, because that money has to be paid back.
Absolutely.
I think private loans, because we talked about grants and scholarships, there's a lot of family foundations, different things that also offer loans. I remember back in when my kids were coming through, there was a foundation. They didn't give scholarships, but they gave very low interest rate loans to the students. And it was just someone who was just a friend of the high school, a family that really, small town, but they really, it was important to them to support students that were coming from that high school going to college.
Right.
So they did it. And that was a way that they could give more by making it a loan. People paid it back, very low interest rate, very low qualifications to receive it. But it was a way that they can kind of make it almost an endowment. Continue to give that money away. So.
And a lot of avenues actually that people just need to be made aware of and take advantage of as well.
Yes. And then there's employment, right?
Yes,
work study
or otherwise.
Study. I did Burger King. I did, all of that, when I was in school to kind of help cover the cost of those incidentals, right?
Yes.
The other things, because as we talk here in a second about 529 plans, college savings plans, it's for qualified education expenses. And let's go there. Qualified education expenses is things like room, board, tuition. It doesn't even include transportation. It certainly doesn't include spring break, right? It doesn't include the trip home. And when we're talking about budgeting, that's the other thing is what transportation costs. Because if I live in North Carolina, if I have a child that wants to go to school in California, that's a whole different transportation expense versus them wanting to go up the road to A&T or something like that. So we have to also put that into the budget is the travel. And that's not a qualified education expense.
Okay.
And so then how do we cover those type of things? And so since we brought up the term 529 plans, 529 plans have some really great advantages in terms of if that money is used for college, that it is tax-free money. But there's dangers in it too. So there's pros and cons to 529 plans. The tax advantages that you don't pay any money while the money's growing. The fact that if you use it for qualified expenses, you don't pay any taxes on it. Some states, about half of them, will even allow you to have a deduction on your state tax return for contributions into the 529 plan.
Okay.
Where the problem comes in, and it gets a little tricky, Dr. Greta.
Oh boy, I'm biting my fingers now.
It gets a little tricky. So with a 529 plan, if mom owns it or the student owns it, and you can set up a 529 plan for yourself, by the way.
Okay.
So you have a 529 plan that you own or your parents own. When you fill out your FAFSA form, that is considered an asset for you.
Okay.
So then it now affects that number of the expected family contribution.
Yes, got it.
Okay. So, there's other vehicles that we can use that wouldn't be an asset.
Okay.
But that 529 plan is an asset. I do know of people who went to college, gotten a scholarship, and they've backed away the value of the 529 out of the scholarship because it is considered an asset of the student, even if mom and dad owns it.
Okay.
Right? So then what a lot of people say, well, what if grandma owns it, right? So if grandma owns the 529 plan, what happens is that any money coming out of it is considered income for the student. So they have to report that as income on their FAFSA form. So in one way, we're reporting it as an asset if mom or the student himself owns it, parents own it. But if someone other than the parent or the student owns it, now the income that you pulled out to use to pay is considered income. So now that has an impact on the financial aid.
So either way, it looks like it's going to affect that EFC.
Yes, absolutely.
Either way. However you're trying to spin this thing to make it work. So what's an alternative then if somebody doesn't want to find themselves in that particular situation?
And I do want to say this. I don't believe in that the impact is as great as it is if you were like had it sitting in a bank account, or if you were sitting I think there's some formulas or something that happen that does cause it not to have the huge impact as if you were sitting on a whole lot of money or
that
investing.
sounds better.
So it does have some impact though. So we have to be honest that it does have some impact, but I don't want people to get scared.
Right. Okay. Because I'm already scared.
So, there's other things. There's Roth IRAs that are good because if they're used for higher education. There's cash value life insurance is one of the best ways to do it in terms of, because it's all tax-free money and it's not reported anywhere in terms of student financial aid. So, there are other alternatives out there that can actually be great tools to help save for college. And then the other thing is, if you're working, I mean, a lot of employers have tuition assistant programs.
Yes, that's true.
Even if you, and I know a gentleman, he was a caddy at the country club, for golfing, and they gave that country club gave this young man a full ride to U of M. He caddied there for 4 years over the summer. And part of that program is they paid for his 4-year, and now he works for a well-known bank on Wall Street. And it was from caddying. So, there's opportunities out there. There's employer-sponsored programs that also can be very helpful in terms of paying for college.
Great. It's great information. I'm loving it.
And Dr. Greta, one thing I didn't mention, I had 3 kids in college at the same time. So, I feel the pain. My daughter was at UNC Charlotte. My son was at North Carolina A&T, and then my other son was at Morehouse, all at the same time. And so
I get it.
Here is the good news. You can do it.
Absolutely.
The good news is that
can be done.
If you want the degree, if you want it, there is a way to make it happen. And hopefully what we can do and what you're doing is so important, is giving people some nuggets and some things that they can do to help them in that journey. But I just want to tell everybody, don't give up on the dream. Don't give up on the journey.
Absolutely.
You can do it. And just graduating on time, not wasting semesters or classes and having to do withdrawals. Now, I was a withdrawal king on one class. Dr. Greta, I don't know. It was a freshman level science class. And for some reason, this science class got the best of me. The one class, I ended up saying, I'm going to pass this class. My senior year, I'm in this freshman level science class because I'm going to get this W off my transcript. Right? Yes. Just making sure that as we're going through school, as a student, our responsibility is to do the very best we can. Don't waste that time. Don't waste those dollars.
Yes.
And the sooner we can graduate, the sooner we can get out of paying, the room and board and tuition.
Yes.
But there's also nothing wrong that if you have to take some time and you work, or maybe you take a little lighter load because you got to work and help, save, but just keep moving.
Yes.
Keep moving. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Right.
It's so much harder to get that train fired back up than it is to let it slow down and then pick up speed again.
Oh, you are absolutely right. And that's the best advice. Keep moving. You can do it. I love it, because this is something that you have to be able to see yourself doing. And so that's why it's so important for students to find fit, feel like they can actually do this on the campus that they are on, and if you don't have the opportunity to go really where you want it to go and you end up somewhere, bloom where you're planted, do the best you can, utilize those college advisors, take advantage of all their services, because like you said, if you take your classes in the right order, then you can move forward, because a lot of prerequisites, you get held up on those. If you miss that, you end up waiting another year almost sometimes. That can really slow your movement. You have to be
very good point.
On point and you have to be organized, see your goal in front of you. And on another podcast, kind of talked about how to make students aware of where they are. Just know where you are in the process. I mean, that's something that just kind of, it was like a light bulb moment. Yes, I did this all the time because I thought maybe I'm just an anal person or whatever. But I'd like to plan out like what classes I was taking and then actually have my, they called it a DARS at Ohio University, where they would have your courses, that your whole entire course of study, and then they would have the courses and the grades, and then they would have the courses that you need to take and the little blank next to them. I liked looking at that. That was wonderful for me. I mean, maybe excitement in my life or whatever, but I liked being able to see where I was and see that, yes, I've accomplished a third of my classes. I have so many more to go. It's good to know where you are and not just be totally overwhelmed and lost in the process. And so I think this is just important, just to know what you're doing, why you are there. How about that? We are there to get an education. I mean, you can get all these other things and have the best time of your life and meet lifelong friends and all that, but you can also get an education as well. So
right, you can have it all. You can
yes, you can have it all. So
yeah, Ohio University, another MAC school, another Mid-American Conference school.
I know.
And one thing that I would say too, Dr. Greta, is they would know my face in financial aid. I mean, they would know who I am.
Oh,
listen, I walk in there, they don't even ask.
They already know. Here he comes.
They know who I am.
Yes, and that is
in there.
That is one of my suggestions. Get to know a person. Even when you're looking, even when you're on a visit, go introduce yourself to a person in financial aid. Tell them what you're, who you are, what you're interested in. And then when you're communicating, as you're, still doing the college search, you have a person who met you, who knows you. And that matters. It does matter. It puts a face to a name. They know what your story is. They know you're excited about it. People gravitate toward people who make themselves known and who, you got to be respectful. I'm not saying run the person down, but I mean, just let them know that, that you need their help and you appreciate what they're doing for you. And a lot of times that can open a door for you that might not have been open otherwise. And so just make sure you are known by your professors when you do get there.
Yep.
You shouldn't be somebody they don't even recognize. They don't know if you come to class or not. They should know who you are, and you should know who they are as well. So just
and mentors too. Mentors.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, I still have a great relationship with the mentor that I was given when I got on campus.
Yes.
As a scholarship recipient, we were offered the mentors.
Right.
And I'm still close to him now.
Right.
And our financial aid person, we're still friends with her.
See, that's what I mean.
Sheila Gothard, wonderful, AKA.
Yes.
And she's now living down here in North Carolina, but we were in Michigan. And Dr. Gothard, I mean, she was Sheila Gothard then. Now she's got her doctorate, so she continued her own education. But we knew her. We knew her by name. She even pops on my broadcast. I see her every once in a while pop in there in the chat. Yeah. Which can I make a little plug that I got?
Sure, go right ahead.
I got a wonderful guest that's going to be on my show tonight on Facebook Live at 8 p.m. It is Dr. Greta Oliver.
Yes.
So looking forward to that. So thank you for being willing to come and be a part of our process as well. So we're looking forward to you sharing your wealth of knowledge and your passion with our audience as well. So,
well, you are welcome. And on that note, I think we will end our session today. You gave us so much information that is all so relevant and pertinent. And I hope the parents were taking notes. I hope everybody got their notebook out like I asked you to, because this is important stuff and it will matter. All of these little things, that's what, helps you move along.
Little things matter.
Strategies to move along. We can do this. This can be done. You don't have to be overwhelmed and crazy about this whole process. And it really takes starting early, being organized, and knowing that you can do it. So
Yep.
I'm just thankful so much to you for you coming on, giving us this information. I learned a lot of stuff, especially about the 529 plan.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just really thankful that you have connected with me and that we are in this together trying to help individuals make a better decision and a better choice toward reaching their goals.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me on. Stay tenacious. Our parents, stay tenacious. Students, stay tenacious. You can do it. You can get it done. And
absolutely. All right. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Educate You. If you wish, you can send me your questions or comments about the college going process or the podcast contents by sending an email to Dr. Greta at gretaoliverconsulting.com. Also, beginning each week after the podcast airs, check for a companion blog on my website's blog page at gretaoliverconsulting.com. My book, College Roadmap, Essential Tips for First-Time College Students and Their Families, is available for sale on Amazon.com. Join us next week for another tip or strategy to make the road to higher education easier for your student.